What does it take for a world to feel truly hopeless? I'm not talking about a brutal difficulty setting or relentless hordes of enemies. I'm talking about that feeling of dread that seeps into your bones as you witness a world suffocating under its own despair. What forces drive the cheerful inhabitants of these places to go from this to this? It's a twisted kind of attraction, but I can't help but be drawn to the grim spectacle of survival. Witnessing how creatures and landscapes adapt to harsh realities is both horrifying and strangely beautiful. Like the world of Blasphemous, built on religion and endless penance, the real cruelty lies in exploring lands that are ravaged by twisted faith, where every step reveals the agonizing future of its people. But this realm wasn't always a wasteland. The crumbling structures and monuments suggest a once thriving society that was destroyed by a single catastrophic event. So, we are left to wonder, what went wrong? Were there moments of beauty here? Or has everything precious been devoured by an unknowable force? It's important to ask these questions to understand how past civilizations suffered, reminding us of those who couldn't endure the harshness of their world or slipped into madness along the way. Because the most inhuman video game realms are more than just a high difficulty setting. Rather, every small detail screams that this world is corrupted and falling apart. And with every step closer to understanding the truth behind the suffering, the darkness deepens. So what I'd like to do in this video is take you on a journey through some truly cruel worlds in games. We'll explore these hopeless places and see what makes them so uniquely disturbing.
Let us temper this world's cruelty, just a little.
Before we dive in, I'll be discussing some spoilers for games you might not have played yet. The video is broken into chapters, and you can find detailed spoiler warnings for each game in the description below. Blasphemous paints a disturbing picture of a place where suffering is everywhere, both in plain sight and hidden. Its world is a holy land ravaged by a higher being called the Miracle. Because this mysterious, supernatural phenomenon doesn't have a physical form, it has only ever been seen by the acts it has committed, causing people to worship the sites where these events took place. Like this large tree covered in gold sap that grew in the middle of a church. This is where the first miracle took place. The striking presence of this golden tree within the sacred hall disrupts the sense of sanctity, creating a contrast between beauty and unease. As long as the golden sap flows from the tree, it serves as a reminder to the people of this world that the miracle is still with them. The landmark hints at a deeper story yet to be uncovered. The tree, though beautiful, is unnaturally out of place. This world hides similar unsettling secrets around every corner, each more disturbing than the last. All I had to do when I started the game was look down to see thousands of bodies littered across the room, all wearing the same helmet as the protagonist. Only minutes into the game, you understand this is a world of immense pain, and it's exactly why inhabitants pray for relief from their guilt. Blasphemous is filled with the devastation caused by the miracle. But for some reason, the people of this world view these punishments as necessary, believing they have sinned and deserve this pain. Normally, these grueling lives crush anyone's hope. A civilization would grow numb from expecting nothing but more pain. But instead of apathy or fatalism setting in from what almost seems to be acts of torture, the inhabitants keep worshipping a malevolent deity. It begs a single question: can a world born of such cruelty ever truly be redeemed? Answering a big question like that is tough because these depraved worlds don't reveal their secrets easily. I constantly had to unravel hidden stories by, well, collecting items to see their descriptions. This kind of storytelling becomes a puzzle in itself. One of the most unsettling scenes you'll stumble upon is this silver-haired man trapped in an iron tomb on a tree. Through item descriptions and secret conversations, you learn he was imprisoned by the church for some criminal act. The world's history isn't handed out for free. A secret I uncovered from a hidden item may reveal a story another player never encounters. The silver-haired man might seem like a small detail to walk past and forget. Yet, for me, he was a beacon, an invitation to a deeper understanding of this world. It's these seemingly insignificant encounters that shape our experiences, revealing hidden layers of truth to those who are willing to look beyond the surface and piece together the fragments of the world's narrative. But one game series, in particular, has mastered this art of weaving stories from the very fabric of their desolate worlds. Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Elden Ring are beloved titles for their challenging but rewarding combat, intricate and mysterious worlds begging to be explored, and unique storytelling style that fosters community discussion and deep lore analysis. The games are hard, but difficulty is part of a bigger picture. Instead of straightforward narratives, these games use environmental storytelling and embedded narrative techniques. The only way to get a full picture of the history of the world is by piecing together the story like a puzzle, drawing connections and interpreting the surroundings. This way of slowly revealing small parts of what really happened makes you constantly question both the world's history and your own role within it. From Elden Ring's fractured lands between to Bloodborne's gothic nightmare of Yharnam, everything points toward worlds in decline. Crumbling castles, overgrown landscapes, and the decaying architecture are a reminder of a fallen civilization. More than just visual impact, the environment feels inherently aggressive, with danger potentially lurking around every corner. The world itself reflects the despair and cyclical suffering central to the narrative. In these games, there is a sense of existential dread that stems from the way their surroundings are portrayed. Traditional sources of control such as divine order have collapsed or are corrupted, leaving you in a universe seemingly without inherent purpose. This aligns with existentialist philosophy, which suggests that a person must forge their own meaning in a world that screams, "You are nothing." This lack of structure forces survival to become the primary focus, emphasizing the brutal and nihilistic reality of these realms. For example, I haven't uncovered many stories that are more tragic than that of General Radahn. Once a mighty warrior and beloved leader in the world of Elden Ring, his story takes a horrifying turn after he contracted the devastating Scarlet Rot. This insidious disease didn't just consume his body, it ravaged his once noble mind. The Radahn you encounter is a specter of his former self. Gone is the brilliant tactician and compassionate leader, replaced by a beast driven by primal urges and insatiable hunger. Yet, glimpses of his past shine through. He still instinctively clutches his weapon and cares for his beloved horse Leonard, hinting at the shattered hero within. Radahn's story exposes the relentless cruelty at the heart of Elden Ring. This is a world where war breeds horrors beyond the battlefield, where power can become a corrupting force, and even the mightiest heroes can be broken. His fall isn't just a personal tragedy, it's a reminder that here, there is no true respite from suffering. Radahn's downfall shows the inhabitants and monsters encountered in these worlds are active contributors to the oppressive atmosphere. They are warped versions of themselves, driven mad by power, a curse, or a desperate hunt for survival, while hinting at forces beyond human comprehension. The possibility that every action to fix this wrongness may ultimately be meaningless, like pawns in a grander game played by unknowable entities, reinforces the sense of powerlessness in a world designed to bring suffering. In Bloodborne, the descent into madness becomes a journey of uncovering the secrets of the eldritch truth. Dark Souls forces us to confront the cyclical nature of existence and the fading embers of a once great flame. Elden Ring's vastness invites us to piece together the fragments of a shattered order after the titular ring was destroyed. It's a beauty born from hardship, worlds begging to be understood, even as they try to break us.
That divine will, equally pious and cruel, which we could not and will never be able to unravel, was called the miracle.
There was a single moment in Blasphemous that turned my perception of the game's world completely on its head. It wasn't a gruesome boss battle or some terrifying cutscene. It was the opposite of that, in the form of a quiet, horrifying revelation. The sight of Nacimiento, broken by the weight of his faith gone horribly wrong. His body fused with what seems like some ancient parasitic entity. Compared to the horrors faced on the journey so far, this alone isn't shocking. But one single phrase changes everything. When Nacimiento mentions that he doesn't understand what he did to deserve this punishment.
Such a terrible sentence is this, that I do not understand its purpose.
In most narratives, there's a sense of cause and effect, but at this point, a chilling realization dawns. The miracle isn't just cursing the wicked or those with guilt. It inflicts unspeakable suffering upon inhabitants without a clear reason or pattern, perhaps to hide its true motives. But even more haunting is the tale of Socorro. She lived in a village where condemned prisoners were often tortured on a nearby hill. Deeply compassionate, she prayed constantly for their suffering to end. So much so, the miracle heard her pleas for the pain and suffering to be passed on to her instead. And so, her body slowly became covered in wounds. Despite all that pain transferred to her and her body transforming, she wasn't able to die. Socorro was forced to endure generations of suffering from others. The devastating impact of the miracle on the inhabitants of Blasphemous is best understood by examining the equally devastating infection in Hollow Knight. This world is plagued by an ancient sickness known simply as, well, the infection. It manifests as a glowing orange substance that infects both the environment and living beings by transforming them into mindless, aggressive husks. The punishing difficulty and relentless enemies in Hollow Knight weave a tapestry of isolation. You're not just exploring a fallen kingdom, you're struggling to survive in a world actively hostile to your presence. The surroundings feel diseased, like a monstrous growth devouring what's left of a fallen kingdom. Exploring more of this world shows the various forms the infection takes, from bubbling masses to strange fungal growths. Infected creatures exhibit a similar orange glow, with the substance replacing their eyes and emitting from their wounds. But it was not always this cruel. The ruins whisper of a brighter past, when the kingdom thrived under the rule of the Pale King, who offered prosperity to his subjects. But in his quest to maintain power, the king sought to control an ancient being of light called the Radiance. This sparked a devastating chain of events. The king's chosen vessel, meant to contain the Radiance, ultimately failed, allowing the infection to take root. So while the Radiance is the source of the infection, it paradoxically represents hope within the darkness, mirroring the human tendency to cling to any light in the face of despair. This duality of a being of light birthing a dark infection demonstrates how something so pure can become corrupted and twisted. Like Myla, the cheerful miner humming a tune as she digs for treasure. It's almost uplifting to find someone so joyful in a crumbling world. She's encountered multiple times in the same spot, gleefully singing, even inviting the knight to come visit her again. But on a later visit, her spirit seems to slowly break, showing signs of the infection taking root. Until eventually, the disease consumes her, and she attacks the knight. Upon her defeat, she lets out a final, sorrowful cry. This world offers no redemption. Its inhabitants are trapped in a tragic cycle, being robbed of their expanded minds and reduced to empty husks. What was once a vibrant kingdom is now a cruel testament to the king's misguided ambition. It's a world where a relentless, corrupting force has shattered the people that were once happy and full of purpose. The Pale King, despite his good intentions, is an example of a ruler whose pride led to his downfall. The quest to control the Radiance is similar to historical attempts to dominate nature. The belief that humanity can always overcome natural forces and bend them to their will. These attempts, of course, are often met with disastrous consequences. The infection represents themes of collective madness, loss of individuality, and the unchecked power of emotions like anger and vengeance. It's a manifestation of the destructive forces that can consume a society from within. In some games, the assumption that the enemies are bad is challenged as the story unfolds. Initially, these adversaries are perceived through a narrow lens, shaped by the protagonist's bias or a broader narrative that paints them as antagonists. However, as the story progresses, players might discover that the so-called villains may be acting in defense of their survival, protecting their homeland, or something more disturbing. Like Myla in Hollow Knight, the infection corrupted this once friendly ally into a hostile enemy, and the rest of the bugs encountered along the way likely went through the same transformation. Altered by a plague and resurrected as corpses, compelled to fight due to their shattered minds. In Blasphemous, the grotesque creatures you encounter as enemies within the game are warped by the miracle's influence, often turning them into monstrous versions of themselves. These enemies are more than just obstacles to defeat. They embody both the personal suffering of individual people and the existential horror of a world driven mad by a corrupting power. Deep down, I know what frightens me when I walk through the different environments in these games isn't the grotesque, monstrous bodies of the fallen. Instead, it's thinking about the emotional toll these worlds inflict upon their victims, leaving lasting scars on their minds and spirits. Once proud warriors become mindless husks, peaceful citizens turn violent, and entire communities are lost to madness. Even those who survive the physical onslaught are not immune to the psychological burden. The constant threat of corruption, the loss of loved ones, and the fading hope of a cure weigh heavily on the remaining survivors. The greatest cost of existing in such places is always the unseen mental tax. I find it interesting to imagine myself as a random inhabitant of these worlds, rather than always seeing everything through the protagonist's eyes. What is it like when you're not a hero with a fully upgraded weapon, capable of slashing through hordes of enemies? Would it be like witnessing the symphony of destruction from the orchestra pit instead of the podium? Like watching a wildfire rage from the safety of a fire lookout tower, witnessing the devastation but unable to intervene? What if I was controlling Nacimiento, watching my body transform, praying for a cure before it's too late while heroes and villains engage in epic struggles? We would experience the consequences firsthand, our lives becoming a microcosm of the macrocosmic conflict. One perspective I wouldn't want to experience, however, is that of the test subjects in the secret lab of Inside. This game focuses on a single, confined location to hint at the even greater horrors that exist in the outside world. The main character is an unnamed boy who never speaks and provides no information about his life before his current situation. The sole detail that defines him is the relentless pursuit of escape from the vast underground facility the game takes place in. Inside challenges players with a blend of platforming and puzzle solving, all set against the backdrop of a bleak dystopia. But the facility harbors a truth more horrifying than anyone could imagine. Delving deeper into the secret lab reveals disturbing details that hint at humans and animals being enslaved for twisted experimentation. The building is full of these helmets that emanate with an orange light. By using them, the boy can take control of other humans to solve puzzles. The recurring use of orange to signify mind control in various games is a fascinating trend to witness. Much like how green often represents toxicity or alien life forms, orange stands out against many common background colors, making it an effective choice to draw attention. It's frequently associated with energy, excitement, or stimulation. But in a darker context, it can evoke feelings of unease and unnaturalness. The deeper the boy ventures into the lab, the more grotesque the experiments become, culminating in a horrifying encounter, a pulsating mass of flesh formed from countless humans fused together. The boy ends up getting absorbed by the massive being. It then breaks free, smashing its way through the lab like a human wrecking ball. Countless scientists are crushed before the blob of flesh finally escapes, ending up on a beach next to the ocean. The puzzles often feel like a part of a larger script, as if the boy is simply following a path laid out for him. Within a narrative so heavily focused on mind control, could the boy's actions ever truly be his own? Perhaps he was a puppet from the very beginning. Inside's indirect approach to world building can be just as effective, leaving players to grapple with the chilling implications of a world that allows such inhumane practices to fester. Instead of using a single location, some games build a world around a major disaster. This allows players to see the widespread damage and how it affects different places and people. Like a once thriving center of magical study now stands as a haunting example of the cruelty unleashed on the world of Elden Ring. While Liurnia of the Lakes is one of the many visually stunning areas, it's also a cruel microcosm of the shattered world. The once pristine lakes are now stagnant and choked with dangerous creatures. In contrast, east of Liurnia stretches the blighted region of Caelid. This biome is a rotting nightmare. When the Scarlet Rot was unleashed, it transformed the land into a grotesque wasteland. Giant scarlet flowers and mutated beasts dominate the landscape. Ruined architecture and corrupted warriors hint at a lost past and the catastrophic event that birthed this horror. Witnessing a grand world fall into ruin triggers a mental struggle as I attempt to understand the emotion it evokes. There's a certain past grandeur that you can still see based on the remnants like crumbling architecture and fading artwork. It's a sense of loss for a world that no longer exists. The distinction between what the area once was and its current state can be jarring. A bittersweet ache for the loss of charm and purpose. However, this kind of decay can have its own haunting beauty. Overgrown ruins, weathered statues, and a sense of quiet stillness create a melancholic atmosphere that's oddly captivating. But the world that once was is gone, and no amount of mental wrestling will bring it back.
War. War never changes.
Humanity doesn't always need cosmic horrors or eldritch gods to plunge the world into chaos. Sometimes, the seeds of destruction are sown much closer to home. In the Fallout universe, a devastating global thermonuclear war decimated nations and irrevocably altered the Earth's climate. Billions perished in the initial nuclear blasts or succumbed to the insidious effects of radiation poisoning. The after-effects shattered governments and societal structures, leaving the United States and the rest of the world as a desolate wasteland. Even 2 centuries later, the scars of this self-inflicted apocalypse remain. Lingering radiation continues to mutate humans and animals into monsters, while environmental degradation and resource scarcity breed violence and lawlessness. The once vibrant ecosystems have become toxic wastelands, where survival is a constant struggle against the elements and mutated wildlife. In order to survive the impending nuclear war, people took shelter in vaults all across the land. These vaults represent a microcosm of human society, showcasing both resilience and self-destruction in the face of isolation and confinement. So while the vaults were designed as a place to stay safe from the nuclear fallout, they often devolved into twisted social experiments that would range from manipulating environmental conditions to enforcing extreme social norms, all in the name of studying human behavior. As a result, most vault dwellers succumbed to paranoia or internal conflict, and eventually, societal collapse within the survival shelter. Vault 11, for instance, imposed a yearly sacrifice ritual, tearing its community apart with guilt and suspicion. Vault 69, populated with 999 women and 1 man, descended into chaos due to sexual and power struggles. Other vaults fell prey to resource scarcity, cult-like ideologies, or the uncontrolled spread of diseases. Fallout's portrayal of vault society serve as a cautionary tale about the fragility of social structures and the dangers of unchecked authority. It's yet another reminder that even in the face of extinction, humanity's greatest threat often comes from within. It's significant to note that this exploration of cruel worlds isn't meant to diminish their complexity or importance. Not every game needs to make you feel like part of a grander ecosystem or force you to navigate a collapsed world. Sometimes a single unsettling location, a twisted character, or a broken society can reveal profound truths about cruelty, despair, and the human condition. Like Gooseworks, the creator of the computer-animated web series The Amazing Digital Circus put it, when you put a really f***ed up thing in a horror story, it never really hits as hard as when you put a really f***ed up thing in a non-horror story. All of this is to remind ourselves of the darker aspects of our own world. Whether vast or confined, these stories challenge us, provoke us, and ultimately leave a lasting impression. So, the question that remains, can these worlds ever truly be redeemed? And after witnessing their tales and comprehending the depths of their suffering, I don't think it matters. Because it's this very cruelty and world building that draws us in, forcing a confrontation with our own limits and the depths of human perseverance. These dark and powerful narratives prove that games don't need a happily ever after to be compelling. They tap into a primal fascination with struggle, pushing us to question our role in the world, both within the game and beyond. Because someone once said, try creating a new character in a Souls game and kill the same boss again. You'll realize that it wasn't your character that got stronger. You did. Ultimately, these cruel worlds become a testament to the power of storytelling, proving that darkness and hopelessness can be just as compelling as heroism and happy endings. If you enjoyed this video, please support the channel by liking, subscribing, and hitting the bell notification icon to stay up to date. See you in the next video.